You're a lawyer. You're good at it. It's what you do.
I'm not your guy, honey.
I made mistakes. Lord struck me down.
I'm glad you reconsidered this case. The fall broke her neck. They drill all around here, sucking up the water right and left. My wife is dead. Someone has to be responsible.
Swing open loud.
Real sorry for your loss, Gene.
That's Quaid at Blackwood, Young's Tallgrass Farms.
Big farm, right?
The biggest.
Eyes got used to the darkness.
Lawyers poking around. He asked the right questions. This is gonna be a big problem.
Why drag this all out? We're both tired.
Oh, I can go all night.
Well, if you feel that way about it, I guess I'm just gonna have to settle up.
I'm too damn young to give up on the night.
We are going up against the biggest law firms in the state, representing one of the wealthiest men in the country.
You have 2 weeks to find something, or I'll have no choice but to rule in favor of the defense.
You privatized a public resource for your own financial gain.
All perfectly legal.
I think we should let a jury decide if what's legal.
Nothing's gonna stop us.
Just be careful. Nothing here is what it seems.
How worried do I need to be about you?
No more than usual. So confident.
Now would you break before you twist the knife? Yeah, would you take my hand and take a life?
So how are you guys doing today? Good? Great. Feeling good?
I'm really hungover, to tell you the truth.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're gonna jump right in. Lawrence, not Larry. Larry for later.
I go by both.
You go by both. So you stepped into the executive producer role second season, right? And the first 2 seasons were amazing. When you got greenlit for the 3rd season, talk to us about how you got all of these folks to come together for season 3.
Well, I think there's 2 really compelling reasons why we were able to get such a great group of people together. The first is this gentleman sitting over here. Yes. Well, he came after because of. But I mean, Billy has had such an amazing track record of playing amazing, authentic characters that just pop off the screen, and he's a guy that people want to go on a journey with, not only in terms of an audience, but in terms of other actors. So he's a wonderful magnet for talent.
Absolutely.
And then on top of that, we have the wonderful writing of Jennifer Ames and Steve Turner that were telling stories about corruption and institutional corruption that works its way down into the human spirit. And I think that is a very timely story that people are compelled by.
Okay. Billy, swinging it back over to you. So Billy McBride is such a layered and surprising character. I'm always rooting for him. What about the character keeps bringing you back?
Well,
contract.
Yeah, exactly. All those children. No, it's honestly closer to me than most characters I've played. So I'm real comfortable playing the character,
Yeah.
And I also kind of feel like the guy, especially today. But I feel like the sense of justice, which is sort of like a guy who respects the law, or otherwise he wouldn't be a lawyer.
Right.
But at the same time, he likes human justice, like something a little bit outside of that. So he tries to use the law, within the limits, to do things the way he thinks they should be done, as opposed to, the way people just do it.
Right.
Sometimes very dastardly ways. But it's just, I think people would rather follow or look through the eyes of a guy like that in a show where the lead character is a lawyer, other than a guy who wears a $3,000 suit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like a regular guy. So when people are watching, unless you are a fancy lawyer with a $3,000 suit, if you're just a regular, person like Billy there, or some moron like me, I think the audience can relate to him so well that they kind of go on the journey with him,
Yeah.
And I like that about the show. And you also get to see both sides. You get to see the side of the good guys or whatever, and then you see the bad guys. So it's not only from one point of view. You get to see what the other people are up to at the same time, And
Right.
The whole format of the show is really good to me. It feels like making an 8-hour independent film, and Larry's such a great director, and we have such an amazing cast. It's just, there's no reason not to do it.
Yeah.
Only reasons to do it.
I feel that. I feel that when I'm watching it. The character, in and of itself, he has had such great growth. And I think that that's what keeps myself, and I imagine a lot of the audience, coming back to the show. Amy and Shamier, were you fans of the show before you got on the cast?
I was. I mean, Maria Bello is a buddy of mine. So I remember watching it at the beginning, and then I hadn't seen season 2 because I have children. I don't know what I was doing. And then when I was offered it, I immediately went back and watched everything. And I feel like, just piggybacking on what Billy just said, I feel incredible interest and compassion for every single character. I feel that coming from the writer. Nobody is like only the bad guy, or nobody's a marginal character. I mean, you can have 2 lines, but the care and the imagination and the way they fit into this complex story is so beautiful to me. It's just such humanistic storytelling. So and I just love the idea of playing somebody like Diana, but I felt there was a lot of compassion for her, and certainly that was my job as well. It's like, why do people do what they do? And I just felt like we never stopped asking those questions.
What about Diana was maybe the thing that got you to say yes to do the character, like that one thing that you saw about her in her description?
I mean, definitely. I mean, literally, I kind of came on a little bit late. I think everybody was, so it's like, do you want to work with Dennis Quaid and Billy Bob Thornton and Griffin, Dunne and Shamier? I was like, yeah. Wait, what is it? So, I mean, honestly, more and more in my life, I don't know if you feel this way, Billy, but it's like, it's 80% the collaborators and maybe 20% the role. Mm-hmm. Because if you trust the collaborators, then it's like, and also, so it's filmmaking. So what's on the page is not all, it's just who am I doing this with, and what story are we telling? I just thought she was fabulous and fluid in every way. The way her imagination works, the way her morality worked, the way her sexuality worked. I just was, and I'm a mom in a minivan like most of the time, who, it's important when you're raising children to have boundaries and, teach certain things. And here was a person that was entirely free. And I was really interested in that.
Shamier, same question to you. Were you a fan, and why did you say yes?
I mean, to piggyback Amy, it's 80% the collaborators.
Absolutely.
I'm such a fan of Billy Bob, and when I got the opportunity to read and to audition, and the fact that, which will get revealed later on in the season, I actually play 2 people. I play twins. Okay. And so that's something for me that was really interesting as an actor. I mean, it's a gift to play one character, but then to play 2. So I get to play 2 characters, and one of them happens to be deaf. So I had to learn sign language throughout the entire process. Mm-hmm. And that was an undertaking, as I had no sort of background in that. And that, to me, I was just, okay, this is really cool, aside from the incredible cast and crew. And then I spoke with Larry over Skype while I was in Toronto. I'm Canadian. Mm-hmm. And he was so passionate, and he really gave a thorough description of the world, especially in season 3, which is really different from season 1 and 2. And to really come into this space And when you discover with my characters, they're kind of wacky in their own right. And that was something for me which was really different.
Right.
And I really wanted to bite into something that I've never done before. And to be next to people like Beau Bridges, Dennis Quaid, Amy
Right.
Brenneman, Billy Bob Thornton, I mean, that was a cherry on top to show up to set with such legends and really flex my muscles and show what I can do. And I mean, the entire series was a huge undertaking in all the right ways. Just being able to play one character, lock set, run to the trailer, switch it up, then come back and play a completely different character. You know, it was very rich and a lot of rich moments.
That's good. Lawrence, throwing it back over to you. So there's lag time, right, between each season. What's the decision-making process like when both yourself, your team, and Amazon are trying to figure out when the next season will start production and when it will air?
Well, Amazon has a particular rhythm where they love their data company. So they will sort of like incrementally approve the show. So they know that if they want the show to come out once a year, they can't wait for you to air the show and see what their data is if they have a big enough audience for the next season. So they kind of incrementally order us. So last season, what happened was they ordered the writing to be done. So they hired me, they hired the writers, we created the story. We even loosely were able to talk to actors and sort of, let them know we would be going if the show does what they want when it airs. And so we were lucky enough that when the show streamed last season, it met or exceeded their expectations, and so we got the new season. And that's where we're at actually now for season 4, where we're already writing the stories and dreaming up casting, and after, hopefully shortly after October 4th, we'll be ready to start working on season 4.
That's music to my ears. Billy, is Billy McBride someone you would hire in real life?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. No, I would hire a guy like that. Because, he's a guy who knows what he's doing, and he does it in a sort of more personal way. I'm not big on, like, suits, you know what I'm saying? Not literal suits, but the, sort of very corporate types in my life. I mean, usually I've hired people who, my manager is here somewhere, and you would think he was a hobo.
Right.
I'm joking, but he, that's the kind of guy I'd hire. Yeah, he's probably not the kind of guy I would, have babysit my kids.
Okay.
But I'd hire him to do the job. Yeah.
By the way, he's also an executive producer on this show.
Okay.
By the way, Billy said hobo just now and hillbilly yesterday. I just want to mirror back your folksy wisdom.
I can say hillbilly, you can't.
Can I?
No way, dude.
No way.
I want to hear from each of you of all of the characters that are kind of culminating together in season 3. Who will the audience find most surprising, or be surprised by, I should say?
I'll jump in first just to say that I think the great pleasure of the season is that all of them have tremendous transformations that are surprising. And, starting with Shamier's character, who's literally 2 characters, and that's a reveal in and of itself. But all of these guys flirt with or fully embrace some form of transformation, breakdown. Billy has a prophecy about his own death at the beginning. Diana is clinging to a certain reality and sanity that's tenuous, and both of the characters that Shamier plays have their own psychological ordeals. So they're not only dealing with the big obstacles in terms of this case, but they're all also going through existential and psychological crises. So I think they all do. That's my vote.
There's also, part of the fluidity that I was talking about with Diana is also with the whole piece, which is, there's this whole hallucinogenic aspect of it where we are ingesting hallucinogens. Diana's a microdoser, so for her it's a little bit more regular. But so then the fluidity, which is very much in that first episode as well, of hard reality versus psychological and emotional reality, and both have validity. And so, as an audience member, hopefully it won't be too frustrating, but it's like, are we in his head? Are we in her? What's happening? But the emotional truth is the mother lode of what's going on, I think.
What about you, Shamier?
I mean, I gotta echo what Larry said. You know, there's everybody. You know, really and truly, it's hard to point it out. And I think the obvious for some folks is the fact that I'm playing two characters. You know, it's interesting because there'd be moments on set and I look completely different. Like I didn't have a beard and I had a cleft lip for one of the twins. People would reintroduce themselves to me, be like, "Hey, nice to meet you." I'm like, no, it's still me. You know, which was very interesting. Even some of the editors, you know, and some of the execs at Amazon, from what I heard. But I think that'll be interesting for viewers to see, especially in this season.
Yeah.
You know, twins, you know, and myself playing both those characters.
Absolutely. What about you, Billy?
Well, yeah, same thing. I think everybody's got some transformation that's pretty special in this. And can I tell a funny little set thing
Please
about
do.
him? We were in a van one night. It was very cold, and I was sitting in the back, and he was in the front seat. And for this particular character, he had to have some makeup around his mouth where he couldn't move his mouth, really. And, you know, we'd gotten along so well throughout the show. And, you know, I gave him some, like, old guy advice a couple of times, you know, and that kind of thing. And so, and he always thought my stuff was pretty funny, you know. Well, I'm sitting in the back of the van, and I used, like, my A material. And I kept talking to him. And he wasn't laughing at anything I said. I hadn't seen him. It was dark, and he's sitting in the front, you know, and I'm in the back. And I just kept saying stuff. And then finally, you know, he's not laughing at anything. He sort of grunts every now and then. And I was like, you know, Richard Pryor back there. And so I leaned over to my makeup person, and I said, "Why is he being such an asshole tonight?" And then we get out later, and then I see that he's got all this stuff all over his mouth. He can't move it and everything. So I was pretty relieved. I thought I'd lost my touch.
No, because if I was loud, because there would be moments where Billy would try to make me laugh, and I had to walk away or turn away because you spend hours on these pieces. Like I come in 2 hours before my call time to get it done, and one little movement can destroy an entire day. And Billy's over here trying to make me laugh, and I'm like, "Billy, shut up, Billy. Billy, no, Billy." And Billy's, "I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you." But that's the reason why. But he is A1, very funny guy.
Sometimes.
So we, of course, watched the season 3 premiere. Again, you guys just jumped right out of the gate with the story, and already the audience is like salivating for what is going to happen next. Any secrets that you can reveal?
Well, I'll just say that Billy goes to this very strange place, which in reality is a strange place because the Central Valley of California is where an amazing amount of our nation's food is grown, and in a place where there's no natural water. And all the water that's coming there is coming from the north and is actually brokered by and owned by private interests. And so Dennis and
This is
Amy,
all true.
That's all true, by the way, and frightening. Dennis and Amy play the most prominent of a group of ranchers that are really trying to expand their control and their influence over this public resource. So that will get juicier and more complicated as the conspiracy of Dennis and Amy and then Beau Bridges and these other ranchers, and then Billy, of course, poking around to see what, as he kicks the tires of the situation, finds a deeper conspiracy, and we're just going to go on a pretty wild ride. And then along with the personal journeys we talked about, and then throw in some native, plant medicine, and then you're on a wild ride. It's going to be really, it gets really weird and fun. But it's also ultimately a very grounded and very true story, in terms of what's really going on in California with water.
So season 4. I'm already thinking ahead, of course. Are you ready or already thinking about where you want to take Billy at this point? Or are you just trying to relax in the moment for now?
We're already fully and working on it. Unfortunately, we live in a world where there's no shortage of stories about corruption to explore. And we are going to be tackling the opioid crisis in season 4, which is obviously really big in the news right now, and it's an incredibly compelling human story. There's such a amount of there's such a human story and so many lives lost that we want to try to do a credible version of that story.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank all of you for your time and give a round of applause to all of them.
Thank you. Thank you.